Sail the coast of Ireland with O'Malley on a crest.
Alright, it's RPW here for the Atlas Explorer series. I'm super excited to be back with this series, which I did do for a while, and I stepped away because I really wasn't 100% confident in Atlas yet. So I really wanted to take some time to really get to know all the aspects, whether it be about larger alliances, your actual team alliance within Atlas, and all the little details that come with Atlas itself. So I'm super excited to be bringing back this series to you guys, and I hope that you guys enjoy today's video. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to go over and hit the subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on all future videos. Now, in today's Atlas Explorer series video, we're going to be going over the 10 things leadership wants you to know about Atlas. Now, the reason I say this is because there are so many players out there that are still clueless when it comes to the importance of troops, the importance of building troops, and so forth. Now, granted, guys, glory hunting is great, for example, because you're going to be able to go out and get glory, but there are reasons why glory holes are not your friend. So we'll be going over that and several other things that I think you should definitely know, whether you're on a team that is giving you the information and you're not seeing it or understanding it and need it, to be visual in front of you, or you're simply on a team that's clueless. I mean, you just never know. Or you have not quite got on an Atlas team and you're thinking about going to one. This is going to be a great video for you. And as for all the teams out there that are getting in these new players that really don't understand and really need that extra push, be sure to share this video with them because I think this is going to help tremendously. Okay, so let's go in. We're going to actually do a countdown starting at the number 10 to number 1. Now, none of these are going to be more important than others. I just like to count down numbers. I think it's more fun that way, right? But let's go ahead and jump into number 10, which is the first week of Atlas Elite is free. That's right, guys. When you first begin Atlas, you're going to get 1 week of Atlas Elite for free. So don't waste it. If you don't understand this or you don't know this and you go into Atlas and you don't understand what Atlas Elite. I know when I first began and I got the free week of Atlas Elite, I didn't know. I didn't understand that I was getting bonus. I thought it was normal. So it was a couple days into it. A friend, fellow player had explained to me, no, you get Atlas Elite for free. I'm like, oh, okay. So with this specific package that you can purchase for $4.99 a week or for basically $20 per month, you're going to be able to go out and actually get way more gold. And you're going to be able to get a lot more of your fragments to be able to upgrade your gear, as well as have a much larger amount of regeneration rate for your hats. Now, we'll go over what the hats are in other parts of the series of the videos. If you have not seen my earlier videos of this, go ahead and go back and watch them. But know that there has been some changes since those videos. So we're going to be refreshing everything. Now, what this means, guys, you're going to get all these extra goodies during this time frame that people are having to pay for. This is the time to take advantage and build those troops. If you're not utilizing this to the fullest degree, you are wasting your time. Do not go into Atlas team if you have not yet until you are fully capable or ready to have the time in order to do those gold attacks. Now, in the first 24 hours when you first join a team, you're going to not have the extra team bonuses, but you are still going to have the Atlas Elite bonus. That means you're going to get way more gold. So every hour you're going to be able to go in and use a bunch of the hats, which are quite a bit. It's 16,000 hats to build yourself so many troops. I believe it's like 1.6K every hour you're going to be able to make. And the thing is, as we'll go over in another part, there is a minimum most teams are going to request of you. So with that being said, take advantage of that first week for free, and we'll go over Atlas Elite in a more detailed video coming up later. Number 9 is your troop count minimum. Most teams are going to require you to maintain a minimum amount of troops. Now, let's say the team you join has a 10,000 minimum, which is pretty low, honestly. But let's say they have a 10,000 minimum troop count. That doesn't mean build 10,000 troops, spend 10,000 troops, build 10,000 troops, spend 10,000 troops. This means at all times, even after glory hunting, you will still have 10,000 troops in reserves to protect what you already own. Because if you lose your castles, you're going to lose your resources, you're going to lose your buffers, any bonuses you might have. So it is very, very, very important and imperative that you guys do your best to keep that 10,000 minimum. make sure you check with your leadership, find out what your minimum is, because your team, depending on the league that it's in, might be way more. So don't go out there and spend those minimum troops. Try to make yourself a certain amount of troops for glory hunting, a specific amount for your minimum, and maybe even some for yourself when it comes to being able to help out, fellow teams or fellow allies or whatever. So I really feel that nobody should be glory hunting if they have got less than 100,000 troops. Me personally, that's my personal opinion. And even then, you don't want to spend all of that. You really want to be careful what you go out and you utilize to do glory hunting. So anyways, that is a big one, guys. Number 9, like I said, troop count minimum. There is a reason. All right, number 8 is taxes and donations. Now, the team is going to require, a lot of teams are going to require, I should say, for you to donate a certain amount of gold, or they're going to have a tax rate. Now, please don't think that this is something that the leadership is doing to take your gold. And at the same time, don't think that that bank is literally a savings account for yourself that you can put stuff in and take it out. Once that bank starts to fill up, it's literally going to have an overflow. So your team is going to be spending it to upgrade things, to pay up the upkeep, which means your gold may not be there. Your team might have a rule where after, 1 week, your gold is no longer there, especially if there's not a lot of space in their banks. So just remember that if you're on a team, don't just dump all your gold in there. You're going to want to make this a 50-50 thing. Utilize a lot of your gold for your own growth. And then, of course, send out a good amount, not a whole lot, but a good, decent amount. And your team might have a minimum for this of gold to your team to help with those upkeep and upgrade costs. It is extremely important. And I really hate the word tax. I think it should be, like I said, investment or 401k, because this goes into your team's future. It is very, very important. And if you have somebody on your team not willing to put in gold, you always think, well, are they even here for us? So you don't think of them as somebody for the future, and you start wanting to replace them because they're not showing that they're being team players, and they may not be giving you gold because you're thinking, maybe they're only here temporarily till they can move on to their next team. So just keep that in mind, guys, how that looks when you're not willing to help your team. It is very important that you help with the castles also. Anyways, so the next one is number 7. Please no hitting other castles for glory. Now, this can cause way more problems than it's worth. So if you really don't understand the way the alliances work and, how big an enemy is next door or whatever, going over and hitting their castles for glory can be very offensive to some teams. Some teams don't care because, you get loads of glory by protecting your own castle. But going over and picking up, some glory off of another team, especially lower league teams, this isn't necessarily the high league teams, but those like within platinum or within gold, you could cause far more problems than it's worth. So don't be going to the next door neighbors going for glory. Try to find the proper channels before you go glory hunting. So please, 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 unless you really, really, really know Atlas and are very, very comfortable with it, please do not go to other castles for glory. There might be times that your team might do a glory raid and they say, hey, let's go hit this castle. We're not going to actually take it, but we're going to take glory. That's one thing. But don't go out all by yourself, a little lone wolf, hitting other castles for glory. Now, number 7 is to be cautious in no man's land. Now, when I say this, meaning not whenever it comes to going over and doing your glory hunting, but there are times that you might find yourself moving across the map using no man's land. So if you're doing that and you're only a few minutes out, just stick with your Primarch. Just watch it. When it gets there, be prepared to jump on wherever you are going. You might be going through no man's land, for example, to get to another castle in a castle raid, or to help protect a fellow ally or whatever. So whenever you utilize these posts, remember, you are open for attack by anyone. So be sure to be very wary as to what you do when you're utilizing those to move through. If you go to no man's land to go to another castle, try to make that jump as quick as possible. Now, this isn't necessarily something you're going to see in the lower league teams, but as you move your way up maybe into Sapphire, higher Platinum, whatever, you might find yourself on a team that has a ban on doing glory hunting in no man's lands. Now, I'm sure at the very, very last few days of the season, they're like, do whatever, go get your, glory if you need it, whatever. However, there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to say, look, guys, there's no reason for you to use no man's land when we are being attacked daily and we're hitting other castles or we're protecting our allies or whatever. And besides that, you're going to get better glory doing those castle raids or helping protect those other, allies of yours. over the amount of glory you're going to get in these zones. So why go waste 50,000 troops in no man's land when you could have used that 50,000 troops to help somebody else? So be sure to check with your leadership, check your wiki, and make sure that before you go to no man's land that you're not on a team that completely frowns upon glory hunting in those areas. So again, this isn't something you're going to see in many platinum teams, but as you grow up into like Platinum 1, Sapphires, and so forth, you might see this a little more often. Okay, number 4, 0 points in Atlas is a no-go. Guys, seriously, you need to help your team rank in Atlas just the same way you do in your events on the other side. However, guess what 0 says to your leadership? You know, it tells us that you're doing absolutely nothing in Atlas. Let's go over this week's. For example, train Primarchs and Riders. It says event level up your Dragon Riders and Primarchs with glory to earn prizes. Earn 1.7 points for every 1 glory you spend leveling up your Riders or Primarchs. Earn a total of 487 per red shard. And then, of course, you can earn 481 per, I said 87, but 481 per red shard or blue shards as well. Now, here's the big one. Here's the last sentence here. This is the big kicker. I'm not saying you should have millions of points in this event or hundreds of thousands, but it also allows you to earn 6 points per mine or beast that you defeated by, multiplied by your daily loot multiplier. So if you've got 0 points in Atlas event by the end of the week, that tells your leadership that you are literally attacking for nothing, which means you're not building any troops. So this is not good for your standing within your team. So yes, guys, 0 points in Atlas is a big no-go. All right, number 3 is going to be alliances and enemies. So you do have 2 different types of alliances out there. Actually, technically there's 3. Your first type of alliance is the one that most people understand, which is your within the game alliance. It's the people that you join an ally with within the game, and you're all green or blue. Basically, depends on who you're looking at. There's like a yellowish green color to all those teams that your team has allied with specifically. These are players that you cannot hit. Like, you literally physically cannot hit them. So it's a very clear line in telling you who you can and cannot hit. However, there's going to be some red guys out there too that are going to actually be your allies as well. You might be a part of a much bigger alliance, which is your second type of alliance. Or number 3, you might be a part of a friendly alliance, like you might be neighbors with a no-hit agreement or whatever. So you really need to understand what your team's alliances are and why you should follow specific rules, like, hit lists whenever you're going out and hitting other castles, or no hit lists whenever you're hitting other castles, etc. So keep that in mind, that there is a difference between an alliance and an enemy, and not all red Primarchs are going to be your enemies. Now, if you go to no man's land and you're hunting there, there is no worry as to who the enemies are or the allies are. It's free game there. But if you're going out and you're helping an ally on their castle and they've brought in other allies that are red to you, you don't want to attack them. You need to make sure that you're very clear on who your target is before you go start doing your attacks. If it isn't clear, I like to just tell my team, play the defense. Just sit back, let people hit you, and defend bases, because that's the best way to do it if there's not a clear understanding of who the enemy is. All right, so number 2 is wasting troops on thoughtless attacks. Guys, I know whenever we first started glory hunting videos and so forth in the past, it was pretty easy. You go out, you park your Primarch, and just grab up all the glory you wanted. They kill your troops, you move on. But in the recent months, they have changed up a lot of things, because this game ever evolves, where you're going to be able to lose quite a bit of troops. So if you're not careful, someone comes in and they finish your base pretty easily, you're going to find yourself losing far more troops permanently than you intended. So you've got to be very careful. How much glory are you really getting? Not to mention, there's 2 parts to this, guys. So be very careful in what you do whenever you do your glory hunting, and try to make it strategic. But the other thing is, let's say it's 2 days before the PvP ends. Okay, the regular PvP on the War Dragon side. And you've got 100,000 troops. You go out and you spend 80,000 on glory raids in NML, or No Man's Land. Not inside, I keep saying NML, but in No Man's Land. And let's say you waste all those troops there. Within 48 hours, there's a big possibility when that PvP ends and that shield drops, that your team could be under target. It could be under the scopes of another team, and now you have no troops to help your team. So be very careful when you spend those troops, and don't just throw them to the wayside. It's very important. Number 1, and I would say this is probably one of the most common things I see. I go out and attack, and sure enough, there's 3 million gold and the player's offline. Now, holding onto your gold is a terrible, terrible thing that you can do to others. And I have a hard time telling you this because, you know, I want to farm you and take your gold for my team, but it wouldn't be right for me not to tell you. So, number 1, holding on to that gold. Guys, I get it. You want to hold onto that gold for later, but the best thing you can do is go into your castle and dump that gold. If your castle's full and you can't spend it, then hold off your attacks in Atlas until later that day whenever you can utilize the gold in general. I see this far too often. I go out into an attack, I hit someone, whether it be with mine, main, or an alt, and I come back with 2 million gold. Because guys, your gold is not protected the way that your food or that your wood is. It is 100% open for takes. Now, yes, granted, you might get hit by somebody that's a lot larger than you, and they're not going to take that gold because it is kind of decided on like how difficult that player is, you know, versus you or whatever. So if, let's say, you're a level 220 and a level 150 takes out your base with backup, and you have 2 million gold sitting in your bank, there's a big chance they take 1.5 million of that gold. So I don't know how the numbers work on that. It's just very random, it seems like, but you got to be very careful. I mean, think about it. Do you want another player on another team to take that gold and put that into their castles? Or would you rather dump that gold into your castle for possible later use or to help your team instead? So guys, don't hold on to that gold. Before you log out, check to see how much gold you have just in case you have any. If you can't spend it, even if it's 500 pieces of gold, dump that into your team bank. It is very important that you guys do not let other teams take your gold. Now, trust me when I say there are far more than just 10 things that your leadership wants you to know. You know, there are a lot of things we could go through. These are just the 10 that I come up with today off the top of my head. And, you know, of course, depending on the team you're in, the league that you're in, the amount of things that go beyond this might, you know, scope differently. So be sure to check with your team, check your wiki, be in contact with them, read the emails, and of course, you know, keep up with your line chats so that you know exactly what it is your leadership is needing from you. You know, working together as a team is not only a prideful thing, a great way to make friends and lasting relationships with those people that you know, play with every day, but it's a great way to help yourself grow too. A successful team is a successful, you know, way of playing. So, I mean, your better ranks means you're going to get better prizes in the end and so forth. So that is the 10 things that you should know that your leadership wants you to know that I could come up with just today. But guys, be sure to share this, like I said, with anybody that's coming in new to your team. If there's a fellow player on your team that seems to be struggling, you're not seeing them keep the minimum on, you know, on troops, or they're not putting out the amount of gold that they need, be sure to share this with them as well so that they can see that there is a reason. It's not about greed. It's not about whatever. And then also, guys, if you're seeing that people are using up their troops, they may not quite understand. There are players that don't get it. They're, you know, they're just not getting it because it is a lot of information. Atlas is truly an information overload, which is why I'm excited to be bringing back this Atlas Explorer series that I think is going to help a lot of not only new players, but even some intermediate players out there. I mean, there's a lot of advanced players in Atlas. They're going to be like, okay, yeah, she touched the basics. Yay, good for her. Now we got some basics out there for some of these players that are coming into the team. Woohoo, fantastic. But seriously, guys, it is no joke. There are a lot of players out there that need the very simple basics, step-by-step guides. Be sure to reach out. You can even have a buddy system on your team to help those that are very, very new in Atlas. You know, have, you know, one very, very aged Atlas player kind of hand-in-hand walk one of your new players. It can be a big help. So anyways, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys soon with another Atlas Explorer series video. Until next time, happy hunting!